We're exactly 2 weeks away from the MLB trade deadline. So who could the Mariners have their eye on? We'll discuss that and more coming up. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Monday, July 20th, 2026. My name is Titan Gonzalez, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Colby Patnode. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Join all the action at FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer this MLB season. On today's show, we're going to open up the mailbag and answer your Mariners questions, starting with this one from JB, who wants to know who is realistically a trade option for the Mariners. So we're a couple weeks out from the trade deadline, exactly 2 weeks out from the MLB trade deadline. So, Colby, who do you think the Mariners might have their eye on? Who do you think they could realistically get here in a couple weeks' time?
Boy, Ty, I'm glad you asked because somebody wrote a top 20 piece on their Substack yesterday.
Did you? I had no idea.
Yes, I know. A pointless countdown where they are not in any order whatsoever, but people like lists, so give them 20 names and put a number next to their names, and that helps. But
ooh, shiny.
Yeah, so go check that out. And that's the answer to my question. Go read that. Yeah, so obviously, the Mariners right-handed hitting and bullpen help. Pretty obvious. I mean, they haven't been shy about what they're looking for. Now, for me, I wouldn't eliminate left-handed bats so long as they hit lefties. Like, to me, the more important thing here is you need guys who hit left-handed pitching. It would help if they were right-handed, but you need guys who can hit left-handed pitching. So I wouldn't eliminate a guy like we just saw him, Jung-Hoo Lee. He makes some sense, because he is, corner outfielder, a little more contact-oriented. But he hits lefties very well, even though he's lefty. So I wouldn't rule him out, but I don't think he's going to be high on their list. So you look at relievers, you look at right-handed bats. I think, any list of relievers starts with Mason Miller, who is apparently, it's sure starting to seem like consensus that he will be shopped. And there's also been a report that the Padres would like to buy and sell. Like they'd like to do a little bit of both. The Mariners are one of the few teams in a unique position to do that because of their depth in the rotation, because of a guy like Luke Raley. They do have some guys who could legitimately help the Padres who need starting pitching and some, pop in their lineup, left-handed pop to be specific. So
in other words, to directly answer JB's question here, do you think Mason Miller is realistic for the Mariners?
Yeah, I do. I wouldn't say he's likely, but it's certainly the Mariners have the pieces. They line up well with San Diego. They have a good working relationship with Preller and company. So yeah, it's absolutely realistic that they could acquire Miller. Now, pretty much every team will be in on Miller, so it's not a slam dunk. But yeah, it's very realistic that they could get him. And then also his teammates like Adrian Morejon. If you're going to talk Miller, you might as well talk Morejon. Ty France, another guy on that team that makes a lot of sense for this roster. Luke Weaver is another guy to some degree, although I doubt it, but he's in town today, so we'll mention him. Eugenio Suarez. We're probably reaching a tipping point here with Colt Emerson, where over the next couple of weeks, the Mariners have to decide if it's more important to win this year or keep playing Colt Emerson every day, who's a black hole in the batter's box right now. Had some moments though this weekend, that's for sure. So yeah, I think when you're looking at bullpen, any reliever who's going to be out there is a very realistic option for the Mariners because they can afford to go get that guy. They have the pieces. So any reliever, you might as well start at the top, and that's Mason Miller. And then probably from there, it's like Luke Weaver and Morejon. And then, right-handed bats, Lane Thomas, Ty France. I don't know if there's Seiya Suzuki,
maybe
Taylor Ward. Like I think the right-handed bat is much more likely to be a role player, like a platoon player. And I think the big add will be in the bullpen. And, honestly, if I were the Mariners, I would look to add 2 bullpen arms, one of more of the high leverage guy, and then maybe like a pivot guy who kind of works in the middle innings there. So, but yeah, I think Miller is like the best player that you can get, or the most valuable player you can get, who is also quite realistic. I think he threads that needle. There are less realistic options like CJ Abrams and Curtis Mead.
Right.
But yeah, I do think that Miller, Morahone, Weaver, like those three, be ideal if the Mariners could walk away with one of those three guys.
Yeah, Mead is fascinating because, and we're expecting to have a guest tomorrow who I would love to ask this question to as well. We're all kind of assuming that if the Mariners trade from their rotation, it's Luis Castillo, but could they actually trade one of these other guys from their rotation? If that's the case, Emerson Hancock kind of lines up very well for a Curtis Mead trade.
Former top 100 prospect enjoying their first breakout season after a couple of years of mediocrity in the big league level. Do the Nationals need pitching? They sure do.
Exactly.
So yeah, it really does line up very well. But again, are the Mariners going to be willing to trade Emerson Hancock? Who knows? But yeah, that is a very specific, one of the only specific deals I mentioned, or I at least tease in the piece that I wrote yesterday. So it does make sense there. I'm just not 100% sure if they would trade Hancock. But Miller, Weaver, Morahone, those are the top three to me. And I'd be pretty disappointed if the Mariners didn't come away with one of those guys.
Yeah, and I feel like whatever bat or multiple bats they come away with are probably going to be more of the complementary variety rather than an everyday high impact addition. I think if they're going to add a high impact player at the deadline, it's probably going to be an arm, specifically a bullpen arm.
I think so. I think the bats are more of the platoon or part-time player, maybe a little bit of versatility in one of them, who could play every day if you need him to, but you're hoping he doesn't have to. But yeah, I do think the impact's going to come from the bullpen arm, would be my guess.
Next question here from Texans Can't Drive, who wants to know which has been the more egregious regression from 2025 to 2026, Cal Raleigh or the American League as a whole? I mean, are we deep enough to say that this is one of the greater hangover seasons in the history of baseball with Cal Raleigh?
Yeah.
I mean, he's gone from a 161 WRC plus last year to a 68 WRC plus. And obviously there's injuries and all that to account for here with Cal, but it is stunning what's happening. And it doesn't seem like it's getting any better anytime soon.
No. In truth, the American League was pretty mid last year. Now, not this mid, but also we don't know how mid the AL is right now or will be at the end of the year. What we do know is that there is basically no chance Cal gets anywhere close to what he did last year. And at this point, probably not going to get anywhere close to what he did in 2022 to 2024. So it's not just Cal fall off from 2025, which we expected. It's Cal falling off to levels not seen since his rookie year, where he had to get sent back down because he was so bad. So to me, the answer is Cal. The American League has always been, or well, not always, but has been recently, like clearly less talented than the National League, and always, fewer dominant teams than the National League. So this, not all that surprising. And again, I bet if we went back and we looked at the standings last year compared to this year, it wouldn't look all that different. Now the teams, would be different, but in terms of like how many teams are within X number of games of the playoffs and blah, blah, blah. Because I remember having very similar conversations last year where we were like, yeah, there's just not going to be a ton of sellers in the American League because everybody's kind of jumbled up there, and the National League.
It's definitely to a much more extreme degree, but I don't think it's as egregious of a fall as Cal's fall has been.
Yeah, I think Cal probably has to be the answer. And we're talking about, top 5 player to like a bottom 5 player in a year.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the fact of the matter is, as unfortunate as this is to say, the best the Mariners catching situation has been this year has been when it was comprised of Mitch Garver and Johnny Pereda. It was the most effective that the Mariners catching situation has been in the year of our Lord 2026. And that sucks. We'll answer more of your questions in just a moment, but first a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel and Odoo. Locked On Mariners is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep. Now you get the chance to make your prediction before first pitch. There are certain players where every at-bat feels like something big could happen. That's what makes Daily Dingers fun. You get to back the player you think is ready to go deep that day. So, are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of MLB. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everyone working towards the same goal. And that's true in sports just like it is in business. You know, when we're talking about the Mariners, we talk about how they have the same philosophy at the majors as they do all the way down at the lower levels of the minors. Even with all these different factions, the organization itself is one. They have a vision, they stick to it, and last season showed us what's possible when everyone is working from the same playbook. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/LOCKEDON. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen for all things Mariners. And also thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Let's get back into your questions here on Mailbag Monday. Your running back's favorite running back wants to know, of the Julio, Naylor, Donovan, and Cal foursome, how many do you think will be a 120 WRC plus or better bat the rest of the way? Well, Naylor has already done it for a stretch this year, so I feel pretty decent about that. You know, from about mid-April to mid-June, he was a 130-ish WRC plus, so I think he can do that reasonably so over the second half. Donovan, I think, will be around there because that's typically where he hangs around when he's on the field, is about, 115 to 120 WRC plus. Julio, obviously, the second half Julio, we know the deal there. Cal, though, is the one that's really hard to see right now with just the way things are going for him at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, it's bad when we're getting excited about the number of foul balls that were almost fair balls that he hit. Yeah. Like, man, he's hit a couple of nukes down the right field line. They just all gone foul. And it's like, yeah, that's not a good thing. Those are strikes. And so, yeah, that's kind of where we're at with Cal. At this stage, any kind of offensive performance you get from Cal is just got to be looked at as gravy. Yeah, Julio, I'm pretty confident Julio will be very good down the stretch. He always is, and he's a very good player. Naylor, been awfully streaky this year, which is kind of weird for Josh, but yeah. And then Donovan, like, he was your best player when he was healthy, which granted was for only 25 games, but he's been really good this year, and they'll probably protect him some against lefties since they have some depth, and he's not going to play every day. So I think three of these four are actually really, I would say, very likely to be 120 WRC plus or thereabouts. I think I'm done betting on Cal to figure anything out, and I'll just wait to hopefully be proven wrong by that over these next 62 games. Yeah. But we're 100 games in. Like, that every time we think Cal's taking a step forward, he takes 2 steps back. So I'll go with the 3 of the 4. Go 120 the rest of the way.
All right, Max wants to know, what are your thoughts on Lazaro Montes and Michael Arroyo in AAA so far? Small sample size for sure, but it seems like at least Arroyo is going to get a shot this year to help the Mariners. Laz still kind of a boomer bust look, like he's missing a lot of pitches inside the strike zone. His end zone contact rate right now, I think, is only 52% at the moment. And then Arroyo's, he's hitting everything in sight, really. I think he's, and maybe people far smarter than I would disagree with this, but just seeing how he's carried over his production from AA to AAA, I think he's ready or just about for his first taste of the majors. He looks really good right now. Laz, obviously, we know what the potential is there, but yeah, there's definitely some work left to do there for him.
I would say like as expected, but Arroyo's been really good. Really, really good. And Laz has had his moments. He's got a home run, double. He's made some nice plays out in right field, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say, so far so good. Certainly. So far so great for Arroyo. And yeah, nothing too concerning from, Laz's performance thus far. We'll see what happens. Over the course of the next 2 months. I don't see any scenario where Laz joins the Mariners this year. Yeah. In fact, I think I would say it's significantly more likely he's wearing a different uniform on August 4th than it is that he puts on a Mariners uniform at any point this year. But as for Arroyo, yeah, man, I mean, isn't he already better than Buddy Kennedy? Isn't he already probably better than Weston Wilson? Who, again, I don't dislike Weston Wilson, but yeah. I mean, is Michael Arroyo one of your 13 best offensive players in the entire organization? And obviously, offense isn't everything. There's defense to consider and all of that. But yeah. I think Arroyo is proving that he can help you this year, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if he was their, position player call up in September, and maybe even sooner than that. We don't know what's going to happen here. If Randy pulls a hammy or whatever, he's got to go on the IL. I think Arroyo has to be part of that conversation to get called up.
Yeah.
So yeah, Arroyo, just crushing AAA. We knew he would. The guy's a really good hitter. The question has always been, how much power is there? And I think we know it's probably 15 to 20 home runs. And then it's, where does he play defensively? And, they're varying reports. Some people say, he's actually fine at second base. He's fine in the outfield. He's not a Gold Glover, but he's fine. There are others who act like he's the worst, player to ever put on a baseball glove. So hard to know defensively before we see him ourselves. Obviously, it's not going to be great, but since when do the Mariners care about defense? So
fair point.
Yeah, Arroyo is going to be up at some point this year, I think, and it might be sooner rather than later. I don't think they're going to trade Randy to make room for Arroyo down the stretch or anything like that. But yeah,
no,
I think
Arroyo, unless they're out of it, unless the next 2 weeks just go completely sideways and they
that's
completely
always the
fall
caveat.
out.
Yeah. But I think we're going to see Arroyo at some point this year, and maybe in I would say in more of an active role than when they brought up Harry Ford at the end of last year.
Yeah, agreed.
No, they're going to call Arroyo. They're going to use him.
Yeah, I think there's a clear role, even if they go out and they get a right-handed, platoon bat or something even better than that. If they went out and got Taylor Ward, who would be essentially an everyday player for them, even if they did that, I think there would still be a pretty clear and defined role for Arroyo on this roster. So,
I mean, he could play second base and Cole Young can finally get a day off against a tough lefty, or he could play left field and Randy can DH, or you could get, Colt Emerson off his feet against a tough lefty and do a bunch of stuff. Or you could just send down Colt Emerson, roll with JP at short, and go get a real third baseman. Crazy, I know. But there is a lot of
who's that real third baseman though? That's the question.
That's the hard part, right? Gino, is he really that much? But by the way, get on your feet if you're going to the game tonight, because Gino deserves a 5-minute standing ovation.
Absolutely.
He still makes a little bit of sense. I mean, he's going to cost you nothing. I'm just saying, he's literally going to cost you nothing. It's
been really bad this year.
Go look at Mariners production at third base when it's not been Brennan Donovan.
Yeah,
it can't get worse. And at least he's going to pop some dingers. But anyways, Arroyo's going to be up at some point this year. I'm pretty confident about that. And I think he'll have a notable role, I will say, in the last couple of months of the season. It still, though, it might be another 2 or 3 weeks before there's a real conversation about Arroyo coming up. But I think we're going to have it here pretty quick because AAA is not a challenge for him.
All right, we will answer more of your questions in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Stance. It's time for the Everyday Icon presented by Stance. As the official sock partner of Major League Baseball, Stance knows greatness isn't built in a single moment. It's earned over time through consistency, preparation, and showing up every day. That's why each week we're recognizing one player whose performance embodies those same qualities. This week's Everyday Icon is Logan Gilbert, who yesterday struck out 10 Giants hitters in 6 innings pitched while allowing just 3 runs. Over his last 10 starts, Gilbert ranks in the top 10 among all qualified MLB starters in ERA, FIP, and innings pitched, and leads the pack with 2.2 F4 during that time. The Everyday Icon is presented by Stance. Check out the Icon collection from Stance. Premium comfort, performance, and durability designed for whatever your day brings. Use the promo code Locked On, that's LOCKEDON, at checkout for 20% off your purchase. Stance, the official sock partner of Major League Baseball. Learn more at stance.com. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, we have a Patreon. It's called Control the Zone. And on there, we talk Mariners, Seahawks, all that good stuff. For more information, go to patreon.com/Control the Zone. Link in the description of this episode. Let's get back into your questions here on Mailbag Monday. Code Mode wants to know, at what point should the Mariners consider bringing Johnny Pareda back and having him split time with Cal? So apparently the Dodgers are looking for catching help with the whole Will Smith thing going on right now. I wonder if there's like a small trade there involving Mitch Garver and then Pareda gets called up.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Mariners would probably look at that and be like, look, how big of a gap is there between Pareda and Garver for the limited amount of playing time they're going to get? And is that worth, disrupting the clubhouse? And again, because we know Garver, look, he's a backup catcher. He's a fine backup catcher, pretty good backup catcher, actually, who still hits lefties very well. And pitchers really like throwing to him.
Yeah.
Like, he is a important part of that clubhouse. And so the marginal, if there is an upgrade you get by going to Pareda in their minds, plus whatever small piece you get from the Dodgers, is that worth kind of upsetting the apple cart a little bit here? I don't know, without knowing the details of what you could get, which again wouldn't be a lot, but I don't know. But to answer the question there, you're not putting Cal Raleigh in a platoon because you need this guy to figure it out. And the only way he can figure it out is with consistent at-bats. Because Pareda was good in a very small sample size, but what happens when the league sees him, the second time through? He's probably not going to be much better than Garver. He'll probably hit for more of an average, but there's going to be less pop. Again, you kind of caught lightning in a bottle the first time around, and that's great. And, there's nothing wrong with, him being your backup catcher next year, because you've got that in your back pocket, and you can have him be the backup catcher for the next 3 or 4 years. But you're not benching Cal Raleigh. And even if you talk about putting him in a rotation, that's still a benching. If Cal goes from playing 6 to 7 days a week to 3 or 4, you're benching, your captain essentially. And the upside for that just is not there with Pareda. He's just not going to be worth it. You're much better off putting Cal Raleigh out there. Don't hit him 3rd or 4th, right? Hit him 6th, hit him 7th, hit him 8th, whatever. Doesn't matter. But put him down to the lineup. Let him try to work through this, because if you can get Cal Raleigh, the real Cal Raleigh, to show up even for a month, he can carry your offense, and he can be the difference between you winning the World Series and missing the playoffs entirely, depending on when the month hits, so
right.
You're just much better off just continuing to throw Cal out there and just see if you can figure it out, rather than soft benching him for no disrespect, a career 4A catcher, and a guy whose ceiling is a backup catcher. That's just not going to happen. So, I would say the odds of that happening are 0. The small trade that makes Pareda come up and be the true backup catcher, who plays once a week, like Mitch Garver does right now, Yeah, that's possible. I don't think it's likely just because, again, the relationships, but
Right.
yeah, it's possible. But in terms of Paredes being like catching 3 or 4 days a week, no, 0%
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah, I just did wonder about maybe a Garver trade when I saw the reports about the Dodgers and what they're looking to try and do.
Sure. I'm sure
I
the Dodgers are
don't.
looking more at the Hunter Goodman types, but also they don't
Right.
need a long-term catcher. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, I'm not sure, specifically what waters they really want to swim in there in that regard. So,
What's
I don't
Austin
know.
Barnes up to these days?
Is he
Dodgers
still in
just
their
bring him back
organization?
like they do Kike Hernandez every single year.
Yeah.
Just bring back Austin Barnes. Why not?
All right, our final question of the day comes from our good pal here, Sam Swaggerty69, who wants to know, with Brendan Donovan starting his rehab at second base, does this mean we'll see Cole Young at short and maybe Colt Emerson sent down? I still think the plan with Donovan is to play him a little bit of everywhere. I think we might see him a little bit in right field even. When he gets back, depending on, obviously what his body can handle and all that, you want to protect the player first and foremost. And maybe he just kind of winds up going back to being the primary third baseman, depending on what they want to do here with Emerson, and they move JP back to shortstop. It's just, Emerson's really struggling at the plate right now. And he had some nice moments over the weekend, but still, it's been rough for the last 6 weeks with Colt, and it hasn't gotten that much
strikeout rate.
Yeah, it hasn't gotten that much better, and obviously, you want to be understanding of the situation because he is 20, and obviously the upside is immense, and he has happy birthday to Cole Emerson, and obviously he has had some big time moments this year, but it's been rough more often than not. So I'm interested to see what they do once Donovan gets back into the fold here. But my guess is he's going to kind of play a little bit of everywhere, which is what we initially thought was the plan with him, going into the season. And then, or at least once Colt Emerson was in the mix. But if Emerson eventually gets sent down, I think he probably just winds up at third base again.
Yeah, I think JP just moves back to short. You're just kind of in this weird spot where you do have to do what's best for the player. You have to try and do what's best for your team also. But again, Emerson is you've kind of put him as a pillar of your organization. When you gave him that extension, you said, this guy is like a foundational player. So you have to value his development almost as much as you value winning because you've made that commitment to him. So is this good for him to sit up here in the majors and just be terrible for 6 weeks? I don't know. I know he's a mature guy. I know all that, but I think at some point you got to really, there's a cost benefit analysis here where it's is it actually worth it having him up here? Or should we send him down with the hopes that he can work on these things and come back up in September and actually help us? I think we're at that point, but as for Donovan playing second base, I think that's just more about, it's your first time out in the field since, this whole thing started. Let's put you at a position you're most comfortable with, kind of get your feet wet a little bit. And then we'll see how aggressive they want to be with the rehab. I don't think the Rainiers play today. So we'll see where he's at on Tuesday or Wednesday, or he might be going to Everett. I don't know if Tacoma's going on the road or not. I don't know the minor league schedule. Apologies. But we'll see where he's playing the next time out. Again, he hasn't played back-to-back yet. I think Donovan's going to be out until around the trade deadline. I think they're going to take just about the max amount of time that they can with this. And so you'll probably see him play second. I wouldn't be surprised if he played second his first, 3 or 4 games out in the field before they try and put him in left field, right field, third base. And I think that's, again, just mostly because just get him out here, movements his body's very familiar with. He's going to be very comfortable there. He doesn't have to worry about, trying to make this play that he doesn't normally make when he's playing third base, and just kind of build on that. So I think that's why he was at second. We could see Cole Young play short. Sure. It's possible he plays a game or two there, but I don't think the plan is to have him be the primary shortstop down the stretch of this season. So that'll be either Emerson or JP. I guess a small outside shot, they go get somebody. to be the primary shortstop. But again,
I have
who is that?
no idea who that would be.
It's like CJ Abrams, and CJ Abrams makes JP Crawford's shortstop defense look like Brennan Ryan's shortstop defense. So that's maybe not the best solution either. Unfortunately, the Red Sox have won 18 of their last 20, which means Isaiah Kiner-Falefa probably not an option anymore.
He's also hurt.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
How are they doing that without IKF? Wow.
Right. Yeah.
Linchpin player.
Yeah. When we had that discussion and we were going down the list and I mentioned IKF, when I was editing, I actually put this in the video. Like I recorded a little thing being like, wait, actually, is there, like I looked at Fangraphs and I was like, yeah, he's got like a forearm thing or something that he's doing. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, not great.
It's not pretty bad. Yeah. So
anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's been shut down from swinging. So.
Yeah, he's not playing this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even more confusing. I don't know who that shortstop would be.
No clue whatsoever.
So yeah, it's probably going to be Emerson or JP. He's going to be the primary shortstop down the stretch. And again, I think we're at the point now offensively where it's time to have a legitimate question of how valuable is the extra range you get from Colt Emerson vis-a-vis the bat, the black hole. And again, JP's not exactly crushing it, but he at least gives you a quality at bat basically every time he goes up there. Emerson is just having these horrific at bats every night. And JP at the very least is working counts, fouling pitches off, still getting on base at a fair amount. He's walking a lot more recently. So JP's at least, like a major league hitter, whereas Emerson right now, he's not, but he's a very good shortstop. So we'll see how they want to walk that tightrope, but it's not going to be Cole Young at shortstop.
All right. That is going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.